Yo, it's Trivelli. I'm back, and we're about to talk about the Miami Hurricanes. What a great job they've done so far this season. Some of the improvements that they need to make as well. We're going to be giving them an overall season grade through 6 games. So look at this as a mid-season review. I brought the best Canes talking heads in the building. We got Nick Green, we got Mike Torado. So we're about to break it down. If you guys can give us a like and a subscribe, really appreciate it because we're never slacking. So let's jump into the action.
I'm living life like this. Maybe give a little glimpse,
So I think we're going to jump off right here. Nick and Mike both going to give some great points right now about the Miami Hurricanes offense up to this point through 6 games. Mike, if you want to start off with some of the stuff that you've seen, from Cam Ward, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward has been just absolutely incredible. I called him a magician last week, just of the things that he was able to accomplish. But through 6 games, he has 2,219 passing yards. I mean, this stuff is like off of ESPN or NCAA and Madden. 20 touchdowns off and 5 picks. It's just unbelievable to go ahead with another 3 rushing touchdowns. So he has 23 total touchdowns through 6 games. And, I know a lot of people out there will say, lack of schedule and things like that, but that is ridiculous. You're playing FBS. They only played one FCS team. The rest of the teams were in the FBS. So it's just unbelievably incredible. We're number 1 in the country in total offense. We have 3,500 rushing yards. Or 3,500 total yards and 37 offensive touchdowns. It's just reading this stuff makes me laugh. It's just not even real. 6 touchdowns per game average, 583 average yards per game, and 47 points a game. Like I said, this stuff is like when you load into NCAA and you're just messing around. It's just absolutely unbelievable. I know, Nick, you want to talk a little bit about the running backs and the quarterbacks, but this is unbelievable.
Yeah, so like I said, our running game is doing great too. Through 6 games, we've rushed for over 1,100 yards, which is pretty good. Our yards per carry as a team average is 5.6. That's solid. Don't get me wrong, that's solid. But I want to see it, 6 yards and above, and then we do have 16 total rushing touchdowns, which is great. A big point of emphasis I do want to bring here though is Damian Martinez leads our team with 66 touches with 292 yards. We then have Jordan Lyle with 33 carries for 239 yards, and then Mark Fletcher for 37 carries and 223 yards. I know Damian Martinez was the big transfer coming in. I know he got an NIL deal that he couldn't refuse, but those 2 other guys, they need to be the future running backs. I'm sorry. These guys got to get more touches. I mean, Jordan Lyle alone is averaging 7.2 yards per touch.
Yep.
How can you argue against that? And then,
Even
Mark
Fletcher
Fletcher's averaging a solid 6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know, like I said, Damian Martinez was the featured guy, but I feel like Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle have to get more touches a game. What they're getting isn't enough because they're just producing more.
Yeah.
I mean, the stats don't lie and the film doesn't lie either. When you see Mark Fletcher back there, he's battling and just grinding extra yards, or he's finding a little hole and slipping out.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing, an emphasis we need to do. And then, our top 3 receiver cores, like I said at the beginning of the year, who I thought they were going to be with Xavier, Isaiah, and Jacoby. Xavier's leading the production group with 32 receptions for 585 yards and 5 touchdowns.
He's on pace to be the number 1 receiver of all time.
Oh, and I think he is. If
He's
he leads all these stats at the end of it, and somehow we win a natty.
This is his 4th year, correct? So
I think it's 5th year.
He has the COVID year.
I mean, that will help obviously compared to some of the greats that only played for 3. But no,
but still,
fantastic.
Think about it like this: this kid was barely a 3-star, very underrated out of high school, out of Deerfield Beach High.
Let's go.
And no one really wanted him. But who found him? Actually, Manny Diaz. Funny enough. He grabbed the kid out of the local backyard, and he saw the work ethic, and this kid worked harder than anyone else I know. That's all I hear from Mario, and Mario wishes that we had 22 Xavier Restrepo's on the field at all time. The numbers don't lie and the stats don't lie. The kid is just And you see the catches the kid makes. He contorts his body in ways that I just don't understand how it's humanly possible.
Phenomenal.
And makes the craziest grabs.
Yeah, he went to our high
just
school here.
incredible to watch.
Me, Nick, and
Right.
we all went to Monarchs.
Some
so.
backstory: we all grew
Yep.
up in South Florida. We, went to the same high school, not at the same time, but we did go to the same high school at the same time as Calvin
Yeah.
Ridley, which is
Yeah.
a funny
Played with
small
him,
world
too.
as well. But
Him
one
and
thing I want
Jerry.
to touch on that you guys brought up about the offense, I mean, we are up to right now. We're up to 3,500 yards on the season. We're on pace for 7,000 through 12 games. Definitely the best pace we've had in quite some time. And another thing I would touch on is that, like you guys said, giving more opportunities to Fletcher. And I really think that would have boosted up. We have 1,100 rushing yards around about, and 160 of that is from Cam Ward. So I think that number could have been boosted up a little bit if some of those opportunities for Martinez had went to Fletcher or went to Lyles. So just something to take note of it in the future. For the back half of this season, I think you might see more of them, and I think the rushing game might take off in the second half of this season. Definitely something to keep our eye on.
So for the rushing that I want to say, I mean, one thing I will say that the offensive line has at times throughout the season been banged up. Our left tackle's been out since game 1, and he's the leader on the line in Jalen Rivers.
So is Ryan Rodriguez.
Yeah, Ryan
left
Rodriguez
guard.
been out since game 1 too, and he's there. I mean, for sure, Jalen Rivers is coming back against Louisville. They've already said it. He's 100% coming back. And I'm not here to make excuses, but it does lose a little bit of continuity on the line when a guy that important goes out, and a guy like Markel Bell, who had no game
and
experience.
he's played well.
He's played well, but he had no game experience at all in college. He was a JUCO transfer, just not at the FBS level yet. You know what I mean? It's a totally different pace.
Absolutely.
And he went against guys like Virginia Tech's defensive lineman who's leading the country in sacks. So he had some tall task already. So I think, in this game for sure, we looked better on the offensive line rushing against Cal. Even though we struggled throughout that game to come back and the whole craziness, we went down the field running the ball on the second drive and just pounded it down their throat.
Absolutely.
Just looked a lot better, and that's obviously what we're looking. We're 44th in the nation right now in rushing, so I think that could be in a big thing. But yeah, I agree. Mark Fletcher runs the ball so much harder. He just does.
Yeah, I think he softens up the defense, and then that just wears him down over 4 quarters. It's hard. It's really hard to tackle a guy like Mark Fletcher for 4 quarters, and then to have the efficiency and the speed to chase a guy like Lyles after you're already tired is tough.
Definitely.
And then one thing I wanted to talk about so far through 6 games, our defense has been obviously good at times and bad at times. But one thing that we can consistently rely on is our second half defense, and then in clutch situations. What's defined as a clutch situation? Anytime a team is on a drive that would be considered a knockout blow, if you will, put you up 3 scores, etc. We've always bowed up on those drives, and the team consistently is able to get the stops when we need them to, and combine that with the number 1 passing offense, and you consistently see comebacks, like these miraculous comebacks like you've seen the last 2 weeks. It's brewing a perfect storm there. But I'd like to see the defense be better in the first half, more consistent. I know we've only given up an average of 9 points through the last 3 games in the second half, and most of that was versus Cal, where you had a shutout versus USF, giving up 10 points to Virginia Tech in the second half, and then versus Cal, obviously, having more of a breakdown in the third quarter. But I'd really like to see them just continue to step up the defense and be better in the first half, be more consistent. We saw on a 4th and 1 there, we sent 10. We had nobody for the running back on the play action fake, completely bit, and that was a big gain. And it killed us. I saw their tight end do a block out fake and then go deep down the left sideline. They hit him for a touchdown on that. And I think that those are unacceptable defensive assignment, like you always talk about. It's assignment football, and we failed those assignments. So we clean up a few things. We're a little bit better in the first half. My total breakdown on the defense is they'll be better in the second half. We're getting players back like Ruben Bain in the fold, and I think that's definitely going to help the morale of the defense in the second half, and the schedule should lighten up a little bit as well after Louisville.
Yeah, so I want to talk about, to wrap up here, about a midseason grade for the team and one point that maybe we think they can improve on going into this second phase of the season. For me, number one thing they have to clean up is penalties. 100%. We rank 127th in the country, which is pretty dang near last.
Terrible.
We have 44 penalties for 450 yards. And I don't have the exact breakdown, but just based on watching the games and being at a lot of these games, there are a lot of post-snap penalties. A lot of post-snaps. Not having the emotions to be able to stay within the game and letting that get out of hand, letting a guy trash talk you and biting into that.
Yep.
When you're the sixth team in the country, you now have a responsibility to uphold that top 10 spot, and you can't allow lesser opponents to get into your head, because for them this is their Super Bowl. They got to do every little tactic to try and get you off of your game. And I think that's the difference when you've played the game, you've strapped some pads on, and you know how this game is played. People, this is such a mental game. It's belief.
Yes, it is.
And when you let a team like Cal and Virginia Tech the last couple weeks get a couple touchdowns on you, trash talk, and start to get their belief in the team starts to rise. And that's what causes you to be in a dogfight. So second half of the season, penalties. And number one for me, offensive starting. The way that we start on offense has not been good. And that's what I want to see in these next 6 games. We're the best second half team in the country by far.
Yep.
I haven't seen it in maybe Georgia, the way they came out in the second half against Alabama and almost came back and won that game. I'd give them a close edge with us. But that's about it. We're incredible in the second half. But if Miami can put 60 minutes of football together, this will be a scary team going into the ACC championship, because they're just such a good second half team. They have to fix things offensively in the first half. They're putting too much pressure on the defense in the first half, and that's causing us to tire out. And, they're doing a great job in the second half, but that needs to change. That definitely needs to change. So, Nick, what do you think? What's yours?
Okay, so I was kind of on the verge between a B+ and an A- for our team grade.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go with the A- just due to the fact that we are 6-0 and still undefeated up to this point. Some things I did want to touch up on was like the offensive stallment. Our first drive, looked iffy. Our second drive, we came down and scored. Third drive, it seems like we drive down and then we get a stall out. There's some sort of stall, either an interception, a fumble,
penalty,
or we get down to the 30 and then we just go 3 quick plays, no yards. I've been seeing that a lot on the offense. It's kind of been bothering me a little bit. And then, I do see us being a fantastic second half team. And I would honestly compare it to, I know no one wants to hear this, but 2013 Florida State, they were a fantastic second half team. They lost to no one in the second half. They dominated every opponent with the second half adjustments, and look what they did. They ended up winning the national championship that year. So, that's something that I think that we are so good on, and that Lance Guidry is great on. He just sees what's killing him, and he's like, okay, let me use my great brain power and, my years of experience, and I could just think of something in 20 minutes in our halftime break, and it totally just shuts down the offense on the other side, what they did against Cal. So yeah, I would say I would give our team an A-. Like you said, we do need the offense to come out hot and keep rolling, and to continue the roll. And then one thing I've actually liked a lot this year too, I'll say, is the play calling. It seems like Mario isn't trying to hound Shannon Dawson into some of the play calls. If you've seen on the TV when Shannon Dawson and Cam Ward are talking, Mario is just behind there, just listening and just looking off the play sheet. He's not trying to interpret his voice and his opinion, which I feel like he was doing last year and the year before with I forgot the coach's name. He ended up going back to Maryland. Josh Gaddis.
Yeah.
I feel like he tried to really hold in and force him to do things that he wanted to run his offensive, his play style, and that that doesn't work. You don't hire a coordinator and pay him multiple $3-4 million a year to run your own offense. Let them do their job.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give them an A as well, just from the offensive efficiency. 47 points per game. You know, we're on pace to possibly break some of our own offensive records this year. So really excited to see how we finish off the second half of the season. One thing I would say, though, is that, like you guys mentioned, the penalties will kill us when we play harder competition. If and when we make it to the playoff this year, fingers crossed, and we play a team like Georgia, a team like, you know, even a team like Ole Miss that's got a great offense, or, you know, some of these other, you know, power 4 teams, Texas, you can't have these type of games with these mental errors versus them, because it's going to crush you. So that's one thing I'd really like to see them clean up. But I think we're going to get healthy. We're getting a lot of our best players back. You guys know that. And so if we can stay healthy in the second half of the season, I think the team belief right now is at an all-time high after winning that Cal game. Like, everything was stacked up against us. We're one targeting call away from having it all taken away. But the fact that it didn't, it gave the team that kind of like, okay, that's it. Like, now we need to play the way that we're, you know, being coached. We need to be better at, you know, playing assignment football. So I think I have very high hopes for the second half of the season. I'm giving us an A, mainly because of the offense right now. And I'd like to see the defense take a step forward in the first half now, not struggle in the first half and have to put that pressure on them in the second. But, you know, with some of the games coming up, guys, is there anybody, before we check out, make it quick, but is there anybody on the schedule here specifically that scares you guys going down the stretch?
For me, it would be Georgia Tech. It's in Georgia Tech. Obviously, we had the ridiculous blown call last year with not kneeling the ball. I mean, we should have won the game, obviously, but that's, you know, nonetheless. But, yeah, Georgia Tech always scares me. You know, all the Techs, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, they always scare me. I mean, every team can beat us. You know, it's just, it's ACC. Look at the SEC. Look at what just happened over the weekend. One of the craziest weekends in college football.
Vanderbilt.
You know,
oh my God.
I mean, number 1, number 4, number 9, number 10, number 11 all went down. Number 22, Louisville. They all went down in 1 week, and we were on the verge of being in that conversation. And you just can't take an opponent lightly in college football. Again, like I said earlier, and I'll close with this, every team going forward is going to treat this as a Super Bowl for us. They need to come in. It changes the trajectory of their season if they knock off a top 10 team. It changes the belief. Yes. Belief is the best thing that you can have in college football for any team. When you believe, you win. Period. You believe in the scheme. You believe in your coaching. You believe in what's happening. You win football games 100%. As soon as your morale goes down, look what happened after Georgia Tech last year. Your coach doesn't need the ball, 7-5.
Oh, I said that. Oh, boy. I said if my coach had not taken me, I would never play for him again.
I mean, we would have obviously been at least 8-4.
They know how special this season is. We haven't been ranked this high since 2017, okay? And this could be the best season we've had since 2003 when we got robbed of a national championship. Yeah. So I really think the belief is at an all-time high. Nick, is there a game that scares you going down the stretch before we head out?
Revenge tour Manny Diaz coming back with Duke.
It's not a bad,
I'm telling you, he's going to have his players right. You know, he's a player's coach. The players like to play for him. And guess what they have that we always struggle with? A mobile quarterback.
Malik Murphy.
Yep. No, I agree. It could be definitely. I like that it's at home. That's going to help. That's why Georgia Tech scares me a little bit more, because it's on the road. We just saw what we just did in Cal on the road. So, you know, that's why it scares me. But and they have Haynes King, who's been playing great this year for Georgia Tech. Another mobile guy. Scares the lights out of me. So that'd be, other than that, I feel pretty comfortable. Obviously, Florida State can be a problem, but because it's a rival.
Guys, let's be honest. We're all looking for us to run the table this season, which is why I will have the Canes Talking Heads back here every single week for more in-depth analysis. Real quick, if you guys are in Florida, hope you guys stay safe from the storm. I'll be back with another breakdown this weekend. I'm going to be ranking every Florida team from best to worst, all 7 teams. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in Florida schools. I got Mike Toronto. We got Nick Green. Thank you guys so much. And as always, we end off the show with our famous
Go Canes.
Go Canes,
Go
baby.
Canes.
I'm living life like this. Maybe give a little glimpse, maybe